Hi, I'm Nick Hagger from Blue Tongue Studios, and today we're talking about Blob 2, The Underground.
So there's been some buzz about other platforms for Blob this time around.
Really?
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about the new platforms and whether or not you've built the game from the ground up on these platforms or whether you've ported one version to the others?
It's the same game on every platform, but obviously we're using the strengths of the different platforms to bring new freshness to the Blob experience. So the game that you loved on Wii is now available on PS3 and 360. 2.0 is probably the best way to describe it. So I think the way that we went about it, and probably the easiest way to summarize that, is to say all the things that were really great about Blob, we've kept them in there. And all the things that are a little bit broken or could have been done better, we've rethought them entirely. And then, to cap it all off, we've stuck in a whole bunch of new features. And I think one of the ones that immediately leaps out at you is the 2D gameplay experience. So it's like we wanted to give people that kind of, ability to go inside the Blob world. So you can go inside buildings, you go underground. There's a whole series of things that you get to do with the 2D gameplay. And it was something that came out in pre-production that was incredibly fun, and we really wanted to share that with the audience. And so we've ended up making over 100 2D environments that are all integrated into the 12 big levels that make up the core game. So it's quite funny. We've taken a long, hard look at the game that we shipped and thought, how can we do this better without really messing up the recipe that existed in the first game. I think the significant difference is that the story drives the experience a lot more. So rather than it being more abstract and quirky, it still captures those feelings, but gives you this much more engaging narrative experience. And you're part of Blob's heroic journey to save the people of Prisma City, not only from themselves, but from the new and terrifying schemes of the Inc. Corporation. Blob is not a particularly highly motivated video game character. He's a bit lazy and not particularly driven to go and change the world until, of course, the player picks up the controller and starts to propel him into action. He does have some new abilities. He's got some new ways of attacking enemies. He's got some new ways of just doing cool stuff in the world. We've listened to the fans out there, and there's roughly, I think, 7 or 8 power-ups in the game, different things that Blob can do. He's got a whole new range of ways that he can move around the world. I don't want to get into specifics, but if you're fortunate enough to see the E3 demo, you'll see a few of those things showcased there. Blob is now sort of confronted with a city that is much more kind of modern, polluted, crowded metropolis. This is Prisma City, the location of the new game. And within Prisma City, people are losing touch with themselves, and as a result of this, a sinister new cult has emerged. They're called the Blanks. And they're brainwashing people into believing that they need to remove their identity, remove their colourful selves, and become pale and mindless drones of this strange
Sounds very
cult.
Orwellian.
It's a little bit Orwellian. I mean, like the last game, people will read a lot of stuff into Blob, and we're not pushing any particular message at all. We want people to kind of use their brains and have fun. And so I think you have the Blanks. They're an interesting new enemy because, of course, they're trying to make the world white and boring. But then sooner or later, the Inkies do come along, and they reveal themselves in a surprising coup where they take power in Prisma City. But I don't want to spoil too much. But there's a whole cast of new Inky enemies as well, including bosses. It is very easy to pick up and play. I would say a lot easier. And we kind of. One thing that people hated in the last game, and I don't know why there was such unreasonable hatred for it, but people didn't like that whole flicking to jump thing. And so we did think long and hard for probably half an hour and thought, why don't we map it to the A button? And it feels like a win for common sense and a win for people everywhere that enjoy playing games. There is still a little bit of waggle in there, but it's a lot more directed and easy to pick up and play. It's not a brain-challenging game. But I think what is cool about it is the level of difficulty. Like our level design team, who are some of the most crazy and creative people I've ever met, have come up with really unique environments. And each environment is themed about a bunch of gameplay. So as you're progressing through the game, each level feels like a very different and very exciting new experience.
Run us through some of the new underground environments, because you actually be able to go underground.
Well, it's the underground, inside. You're going inside everywhere. It's not that there is one sort of description, but it's that they're really challenging, right? And so the gameplay themes that invest the above ground levels then start to transform the underground levels as well. So things that Blob does underground have an influence on the shape of things above ground. And of course, in the environments themselves, Blob transforms everything. You paint the ground now, there is nothing left unpainted. And I think what makes it a fun experience now is that it's all the things that you were kind of curious and wondered about in the first game now are available for the player to really get inside and change and transform. And the transformative abilities of Blob are much more powerful.
And you've added co-op multiplayer.
We have.
In Blob 2, and that ties in quite nicely with Blob's new sidekick.
Yeah, Blob has a sidekick, Pinky, and in the same way that Blob is a kind of bit of a couch potato, Pinky is an angry pink robot who is flying around, and she was built by the professor, the brains behind the Color Underground, and so she's very much a companion to Blob, but also she can manifest as a player assistant within the game, so that bringing audiences together on the couch so that as one player is playing Blob, another player can play as Pinky. I think the thing I love about it most is that we now have a really rich story, and you have seen some of the elements of it today, and we've put a lot of humour into it. So I think the thing that I love most about the new game is that all the promise that the first game had has actually really been fully realised here. And so you're looking at something that really is as much a labour of love, but it's a showcase for the talent and the craft that people have in games development in this studio. So I'm in love with the whole of Blob.
Do you think gamers are going to feel the same?
I hope so. Look, in the same way as you could see that there was a lot of love in the last game, this one is just. It's not so much it's slicker, it's just we're refusing to make it product. We want it still to have that feeling of human beings were involved in creating this, and I still think that when it goes out the door will probably be things that we still want to have fixed and made better, but it's the best possible game that we can make at this stage, and it's already hugely fun to play, and people that have been coming into the studio give us a really warm feedback about it. So I think it's definitely on the right track, and so by the time it comes out in spring 2011, it's going to be really kick-ass.